I do want to have a time to talk about the Counter-Strike circuit in general, because as shitty as the things that Yala Compass did, I do think that there are some points here about how it's not necessarily fair play in the way that Valve is administering this system, because a lot of the rules that we discussed with Messioso in that episode a year ago on this show are not really being enforced all the time. And while they were enforced on some tier 2 entities, including Yala Compass, about, hey, you're up to some shenanigans with the invite, you're not following the invite rules, we have seen that major tournament organizers have also broken the rules, and Messioso has complained about this on Twitter, including that you are supposed to announce the location of your LAN far enough in advance. And tournament organizers like ESL have put placeholders for IEM events that they have invited teams to, and nobody knew where those LANs were taking place, and they didn't abide by the rules that Valve had let down. So it really feels like, and look, I'm sure that some of these tournament organizers like Yala were probably being duplicitous and saying like, and trying to pull one over on Valve, and that probably made Valve angry for good reasons. And I imagine that ESL was probably very open in their communication with Valve, saying like, we're trying to figure this out, here's what's going on, which is probably why they weren't punished. But one wonders as to why some people are allowed to not follow the letter of the rules, and some people are punished for it. And I'm not saying Yala didn't deserve to be punished for it, because, Luis, you can opine, but they didn't invite the right teams according to the rankings, and that seems like very intentionally shitty, or at least very stupid.
On Yala's part, I think in their case specifically, it was more like incompetence, to be honest. At least at the start of the year, that's
fair enough.
What it was, And with CCT, they were just trying to follow what was, the shadow ban system, and they were keeping teams in the dark as to why they were not getting invited, right? I talked to over 10 teams, and they were just saying, okay, we're not going to invite you because of this rule, which is very vague, and you have no idea what is going on, and that it's done that, and it is done in that way on purpose, right? So that teams will not be getting a very specific reason why they were not getting invites. But yeah, I completely agree that there's a lot of stuff that still needs to be ironed out when it comes to the VRS system. Just this week, I think we had Perfect World changing once again the rules and the invite for the CS AJ Championships that they'll be running at the end of this year in China. It's the second time that they have announced changes to the rules, and Messi also as rightly pointed that out. But I think one of the worst aspects of the VRS system is that the ones who are policing the system is the community and HLTV, right? And that's something that I've always said from day one, that we should not be the ones doing that. We are the ones who determine at the end of the day which tournaments are ranked, and we have to to stay on top of that, right? We have to make sure that the tournaments are following the regulations. We are the ones at the end of the day who determine which tournaments are ranked, right? And I don't think we should be in that position. I've said this from day one. I don't think we should be the ones doing that. I think Valve should have dedicated people, Messios or whoever, right, to make sure that the VRS system is working as intended, which is clearly not the case right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously the situation with the tournaments right now, it's so fucking up in the air, because like we see preferential treatment for ESL and Perfect World, right? That's just a given. We know for a fact that and obviously Valve's own tournaments as well, it's got to be said. They're not adhering to their own rules, and they're changing things. And it is affecting, teams make these choices in advance. I mean, we've had it, Graham pointed this out. We've had a number of qualifiers that have just changed the region slots. You're just not going to be there. Sometimes in qualifiers that have already been played. So retroactively changing how many teams play from qualifiers. So in other words, you've wasted some teams' time. And so you've got all that going on. Meanwhile, the new startup tournaments like Yala and Sky Esports particularly, they're trying to meet these standards, and they're trying to do it so far in advance that they're not able to. They don't get the VRS points. They don't get VRS status. They're not included in the tour, and therefore no team wants to attend because ultimately the prize money isn't enough. It's not enough. It has to be, I'm in these rankings, so I get into these other tournaments so I can make more prize money. You would have to have a staggering prize pool at a non-VRS tournament to even make it worth the time to attend. So unfortunately, a lot of the issues that VRS was like, so when they first set it up, I thought, oh, this is really good. Valve are going to be more involved in esports. What they've actually done is they've created a system that is meant to self-regulate so they can walk away from esports. And what we've actually seen in reality pan out is they're not even adhering to the system. It's not even being held up as like, these are the rules. Nobody gets to break the rules. Like, you can break the rules. If you're running the major, you break the rules. You're running a major qualifier, you can break the rules. If you're Perfect World, our business partner in China, you can break the rules. If you're Valve, us, we can break the rules. If you're ESL, we won't hold you accountable for breaking the rules. We'll make some vague non-statement about how everyone must adhere to the rules. If you're Sky Esports, fuck you. You know? So I really don't like where VRS is at. And it's like, it's another classic example of a good idea done half-assed in Counter-Strike, and it's led us to all of the problems it was meant to solve. It's actually just created those problems again. It's like the franchise league era on steroids, basically, in terms of the haves and have-nots and what have you. And look, if Valve would just simply enforce the rules, it would be good. But they aren't doing it. They're giving a pass to ESL, particularly.
Yeah, but
your partner,
we live in a world where, for example, just to give an example, a tournament organizer can come in and say, okay, we're going to be doing this tournament for Portuguese and Spanish teams, just for example, something that is close to home for me. And it's going to be a tier 2 tournament for just teams from these two countries. We have this prize money, but we're never going to pay it. We might never just pay the money, but the teams will still get a very nice ranking boost because apparently, we gave out that prize money. We live in a world where such things can happen, and I'm right now looking into this because I've been told that there will be, a bunch of tournaments have popped up out of nowhere, because the major invite cutoff will be on October the 6th, I think, and we'll have so many tournaments on LAN in September, right? Some of them from established tournament organizers, others not so much. We're seeing new tournament organizers popping up and trying to run tournaments, in Poland, in I think in Latvia as well, for example. We'll have tournaments everywhere next month, right? And some of them are charging like, I've heard of a case of a tournament organizer that is charging a €2,000 sign-up fee for a tournament that will have a prize pool of $10,000. And we're talking about, I think it's 16 teams. So times 2, that's will be $32,000, and it would have a prize money of $10,000, I think. So it is crazy. Some of these tournaments might just actually be just scams, and it will be up. It will be down to us to just police them and try to figure out what is real and what isn't.
Well, I mean, what a great job! What a great job to be doing, because like the problem with a lot of these things is, obviously, we're not going to know until it's sort of essentially too late. I mean, like the problem we've got is with everyone wanting to pick and choose what events they go to, and you have to do it so far in advance. You're under pressure from the TOs. You're under pressure from, the VRS ranking points. So ostensibly, you're under pressure from Valve. You have to be saying, yeah, we will attend. When the invites come in, you've got to make a snap decision based on everything that's on the chessboard of your schedule and where you're at in the rankings. You've got to make a snap decision whether you're going to go or not. And
I've also been told of teams that are signed up for 2 tournaments that could take place at the same time, and they'll decide last minute which one they will go to.
Yeah, that happens as well, which is another ridiculous thing that shouldn't be allowed, because obviously by the time they turn one down, you then can't. You are then throwing a last second invite to somebody else, whoever's next in the chain. They might not be able to attend either.
I even did hear about an example. I forget the tournaments, I won't say which, but I heard about one earlier in the first season this year where a team, like a known team, but who was outside the VRS from the big lands, said no to one small tournament because it wouldn't have had VRS and yes to another. And then the one they said yes to got the VRS points stripped and then the other one got given them. And it was like too late to switch. It's like, again, like this is some clown show shit when you consider that VRS essentially, people have to think of it this way. What you're essentially doing if you're Valve is VRS is like saying in League of Legends, Riot controls the whole circuit and has the entire qualification system from domestic all the way through to Worlds. It's essentially saying I'm going to outsource that to an algorithm. So at that point in time, Monty, like this would be like if you had some scam LAN run like one small regions tournament, but that's the qualifier to get into Worlds, bro. Like if you're Riot, you have to care about that. So I do think this is an example to bring it back again where like if you're Valve, you can't just fucking avert your gaze on this. Like it might seem like small potatoes, but it all feeds into the circuit. That's the whole point of the circuit.
I also think there's like also a non-zero chance that a team from a less prominent region could actually kind of ghost run their own Mickey Mouse tournament to qualify, if that makes sense. Like basically if you are from a smaller region, you could set up a different company to then host a LAN with a prize pool, but because you own the team, your intention is never to pay your own team the prize money, right? And so there's a potentially because the like, or even if you did pay your team the prize money, as an org, the potential reward of major stickers could be greater than the prize money of that tournament, right? And so you could actually just set up completely like fraudulent events that were designed to give your team an overwhelmingly large shot at winning in order to boost their ranking.
Yeah. Which has been a problem.
It's a crazy thing to say.
Valve said
it's HLTV.
Oh, sorry, go on,
No, ultimately, it's HLTV who has been doing the vetting for the tournament organizers.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, like, which is another issue we'll get to in a second, but I was just going to say, the other thing that Valve said they were definitely going to police is this conflict of interest stuff. I just think we've given up on conflict of interest in esports. I just don't think anyone cares about it anymore. I mean, because it's like Bet Boom are playing in a Bet Boom tournament against teams that
nobody
are
knows
sponsored
who
by
owns
Bet
Falcons.
Boom. Like, what the fuck is happening here? Like it's mental. I remember writing about this stuff in like 2016, 2017. Just started E-League, and E-League would certainly have rather I didn't do it. I had to negotiate in my contract. I would still be allowed to do journalism and still be allowed to publish stuff on my YouTube channel. E-League certainly didn't want that, because they thought maybe it might be problematic and it might cause teams to not want to participate in the tournament. And so I remember back then, when I used to publish conflict of interest stories, things used to change. People used to go, fucking hell, can't be doing that. We brought in all these rules about disclosure. I mean, we're not policing any of this shit now, are we? I mean, like, how many...
No.
Like, how many tournaments are
how can we not
associated with? How many tournaments are One Expert associated with, you know?
Those and also Falcons, who are most likely owned by the PIF or the Saudi Royals, who also own ESL, the biggest TO.
The Saudi stuff is Chinatown. You definitely have to leave that alone. Like, there's no way. Because, right, so the Esports World Cup, owned by the PIF, I don't care if they set it up. It's actually a non-profit organization that's independent. All right, dickheads. Yeah, wicked. Great game. Nice one. GG.
Where does all the money come from then?
So they pay the orgs to have the teams via their stimulus club program. So I don't even have a team unless you pay me to have the team. I then enter the team into your tournament, but not just exclusively your tournament. This other tournament over here, which is also owned by the people that are funding you. And by the way, while I'm there, I play against Falcons, also owned by the people that are funding you. And one of the crazy things I saw about this was, right, so like, think about it this way. There is now at ESL events and at the Esports World Cup, you get financial inducements based on how much viewership you get. And so Falcons go out, they buy Kyusuke from Spirit, which is, they didn't sign him because he's a good fit, or they didn't sign him because he's like, an amazing player. That is by the by. That's not their priorities. But he is incredibly, despite being an academy player, one of the most talked about players since Donk. So they sign him, that he makes his debut in ESL. They get the most watched game in ESL, because it was like against fucking Navi or something crazy. And so they get a financial kickback for having the highest viewership. So they're funding, ESL are funding Falcons to their transfers ostensibly. So it's like, they're not, everyone goes, oh, they're spending all this money. But yeah, but they've rigged the game so they get loads of it back.
Complimentary business.
So, what, like, you can't touch that now. That's gone. That's just like, we're just going to have to tolerate that for the next year or two.
If anything, it's almost actually like a reprieve that we get ridiculous, like fake stories come out of a time machine. Like a guy called Jet Ski is ripping everyone off. Like, if anything, that's more lighthearted and fun. We can engage with that. The Saudi one involves having to unpick the entire rules-based order of the world.
None of it
I
is
can't
being
really do
policed.
that.
And I have to say, and sorry, I wasn't planning on doing this, Lewis, and I hope you have enough knowledge about me. I'm not a gotcha kind of guy. But I mean, I also do find it a little bit problematic that HLTV is essentially the curator of something that I think Valve should be running. And you yourselves, as a publication, you have...
Yeah. I mean, he basically just said the same thing himself.
Just said the same thing.
I agree with that.
No, but what I mean is, like, I don't want to get into the minutiae because I don't want to, like, name names of companies or whatever. But, for instance, it's probably not a great look that 1xBet sponsors ESL, PGL, but also has a business partnership with HLTV, and HLTV is also curating the Valve rankings, and this is we're really in
murky waters.
Yeah, exactly, brother. and like I know you're smart enough to feel that way as well. So, but it's tough, man. It's like maybe we just have to accept esports as an industry can't survive without conflict of interest. Maybe we never can be ethical. Maybe we can never. It's too small. We just have to have all these overlapping, problems.
I mean, like if we're real, the Olympics and FIFA have many of like these same.
Which is another thing I think about often. I like look what happened with this fucking.
Like you say, it's too small, but even the most giant sports orgs in the world are conflicted and bribed and corrupt.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would like to have hope, Richard, that if it got bigger, it would not be this way. But all evidence points to the fact that it will probably only get worse.
I mean, like if you look at what just happened with the FIFA Club World Cup, which was basically, right, at a time when all of the players and all of the football teams are screaming about how they want to play fewer games a season. Because you are literally having some teams in some leagues, like by they get to the end of the season, they played 70 games of football. And so, if they do well in all the competitions. And so anyway, that we all of a sudden just had another tournament in America, in down in Florida. And what happened there was FIFA were trying to sell the rights for it. None of the TV companies wanted to buy the rights. ITV, which is like, one of our channels over here, they bid £0 for it and said, we'll broadcast it, but we're not going to pay for the privilege of broadcasting it. Because nobody cared. It was like, people are just like, it's the summer, it's the holidays, we've all got football fatigue. I don't need to see a bunch of meaningless games being played for Americans, right? Like, I'm okay, right? So nobody wanted to watch it. But anyway, from nowhere, DAZN, they bid $1 billion for the broadcasting rights. Right? That's mental. So we've gone from 0 to $1 billion. And then it turned out that another...
Is that where the guy who used to do the Twitch deal with Overwatch League went to? Did he
right.
after that?
Right. Not bad. So anyway, shortly after that, the Saudi Arabian Public Investment Fund put $1 billion into DAZN. They bought a 10% stake. And guess who's getting the next? Guess who's got the next World Cup? Appointed by FIFA. Guess who's had that awarded to them? The next one that was up for grabs. Well, it was FIFA. FIFA have given it to Saudi.
I do appreciate that. Like that Simpsons were so far ahead of their time. They don't even do you the decency of making it subtle. They really do it like that scene where Mo gets that money, like, oh, my laundry is here. It's that giant sack of money with a dollar sign on. Like, it's so outrageous how they do it. It's like they barely give you any abstraction.
That's what I mean. It's like, put it this way. I remember when you had to have a shell company within a shell company with offshore bank accounts. You know what I mean? And
I mean, the joke is we've done this before. When Richard was looking into all the Nicola Nyholm and Astralis stuff, it's because in Denmark, they actually do have one of those public sites. It's called Verk.dk, where you can just click on all the shell companies. I even said to Richard, the problem, that's why I actually feel bad for Nicola Nyholm. Oh, he had done stuff, Monty, like put things in, like 3 layers of shell companies. But the problem is, because it's a public website, that's just 3 clicks, mate. Like, I actually just keep clicking and I just get there at the end anyway. So I know. Like, and probably such an arse on the setup.
The worst thing is as well, you can literally,
and at the end, it's like owned by
you can
his
literally
parent
just
company,
click
you know.
on people, their name,
Right.
it just shows all the companies they have ties to and what positions they have in it. It's like,
Exactly.
this isn't
Perfect.
even investigative journalism at this point. This is just like, reading. So, yeah, but anyway.
Which sadly, it does solve a lot of the problems in esports, and no one will do it.
Well,
So,
why?
in many ways,
We've got
another
the delicious
indictment of the
fireworks
industry.
display. But anyway, back to the point. The tour, the VRS tour, or whatever you want to call it, the circuit.
Oh, yeah, by the way, I'll tell you one thing as well, Richard. This is a sad point, but it's actually a real point too, which is I actually made a similar comment to Messi also. I actually told him, believe it or not, your problem is this, mate. Because you are someone who is actually engaging with this material and you really care and you're finding out the literal factual specifics of what's wrong with the system. I said, believe it or not, and this is a bother to tell you, but no one gives a fuck, mate. People want it to be sexy and salacious, and you almost no joke should try to come up with. I even told him, I'm just not even mad. I told him to try and get attention. I would do something weird, like, you'll remember this, Mira. Remember, like, 10 years ago, where our mutual friend Lurpis, Tommy Covenant, used to do that weird thing where if there was an upset about to happen in a match, he'd post like a thing where it was like upset alarm, and it was like a picture of his face, and say like, there was some, and this sounds like a joke, but the point is it would actually make people on Twitter like, oh, fuck, is someone about to lose? And it actually was like a real thing that became like almost like a meme in the community. I actually told Messi also, I'm not even trolling, you should probably try and figure out something mad like that, like VRS warning or something, and it's like you show when something.
It's a good idea. Because it's all about the packaging, man.
I'll tie this into a bigger point. If you watch on the upcoming LFN foreplay arc about journalism, the real joke is if you actually wanted people to care who are normal fans, you can't actually do this like a boring, like 60 Minutes report, like, oh, and then I found out this corruption was going. You actually need it to be like the guy out of Network Monty. You'd have some guy like, I'm not going to tolerate this anymore. I'm sick and tired of it all. This is you'd almost need like an enthusiastic influencer to like capture the public goodwill in some fucked way. Because I feel like no one actually wants to go into all the boring minutiae. They want a big sexy story to be sold on and to feel like they're on the right side of history and all these dreaded phrases. So
yeah,
and we definitely won't be calling this episode of the Four Horsemen something like this esports org owes $1 million. We definitely won't be doing that, so don't worry. You already
just
clicked on the
put
video.
the fucking guy out of Austin Pipe $1 million. That's Klaus Jensen.
Yeah,
Even sounds like an Austin Pipe.
I'll even do this for the fucking thumbnail, you dickhead.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. And then have him dreaming like $1 million.
Of course, we are referencing Austin Powers in 2025, so maybe
the original one. Yeah,
maybe no one even knows what the fuck we're talking about.
And Austin Powers
that's
is a
my
parody of James Bond in the 60s, which they definitely haven't. We're so far removed from anything that anybody would watch.
Listen, that's the irony of us having a fucking channel called Last Free Nation Culture. We're just, it's not pop culture, is it? It's fucking the boomer
Last
culture.
Unk Nation.
Yeah,
That's what we'll rebrand it.
Yeah, correct.
That's not bad, actually. By the way, someone should make a meme of that. Last Nation, that was all like, drinking
it's a
Coke
good one.
45 or something. Yeah. Have some ridiculous old boomer shit, I know.
But anyway.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.